So what happens if you're creating a spreadsheet for other people to put information in and you want to restrict what they can put into certain cells? This is where data validation comes into play. Let's say here we have an input spreadsheet where other people can input the number of units and the color that they want, but we don't want them to just be able to type anything. So let's select this B3 right here and come to the data ribbon. And there's this data validation button. It's a little small on my screen right now. It may be bigger for you, but it looks like this. Click that button, and in this allow section, you can see that it defaults to allow any value. Basically, all cells in Excel default to allow any value that you put into it. If you click down on this list, you can see some other options for restricting the data that gets put into a spreadsheet. So let's say, for example, on the number of units, we wanted to restrict them so that they could only put a whole number in and that it couldn't exceed 100 units. If we select this whole number button, it comes up with these other options here. Data between, or you could also do less than, equal to, etc. But we want to do a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 100. If we click OK, the cell didn't really change any of its appearance. But now if we type a 101, it's going to come up with this error that says this value does not match the data validation restrictions defined for this cell. So you can retry and maybe type 100. This would also restrict a negative number, and we get the same error. You can change that error that you get through the data validation as well. We'll go back to the data validation, and you can see these other two tabs here. The input message is a message that you can type to give some instructions on your spreadsheet. So we'll title this explanation and put the number of units from 1 to 100. And then this error alert allows you to change the error that people see. We saw that default message, but here we can customize it a bit as well. So now when we click into this B3, we have the explanation that we just typed. And then if we type a 101, the warning that comes up is the warning that we just typed. So again, this can be a useful thing if you're sending your spreadsheet for other people to fill out. Let's look at another component of data validation that is the most common thing that people use data validation for. We'll click into this B4 cell, and here in the settings, we'll click down here. There's a bunch of options here that you can play around with. They're fairly self-explanatory, but the one that's most important here is list. So you can create a list of acceptable answers through this list option in the data validation box. In the source box, you can type the acceptable options with a comma in between. So let's say red, blue, and yellow. You'll notice these two checkboxes right here to ignore blanks and an option for an in-cell dropdown. Those are selected by default. So let's click OK. And what this has done is it's created a dropdown whenever we select this cell. And if we click that button, here's where we see the options that we had. So this is really useful if you want to not only restrict people from typing in something else, give them the available options. So they can click down and see the options here, but also if they tried to type orange, it would come up with that same error that we got before. One other thing to note, rather than typing this manually, you can also select cells. So let's say over here we had our list of red, blue, green, and yellow. So we'll add a color there. If we highlight this source and delete it, we can come over here and select those items right there. And now it's referring to those cells. We can click OK. And now we have those 4 options in those cells. The nice thing about this is if we wanted to change any of these options, Now when we click into the drop-down, it updates as well. So data validation is a helpful thing that you can use for other people or yourself. You can create this list. There's even some custom options where you can type a formula, and if it returns a true, then it's accepted. If it returns a false, then it would be rejected. So lots of options here, but these are just the basics.